teacher Adriana. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a subject that I think is super important for you, and it's informal and formal language and writing. I think this is something that you need to understand very, very, very good for your next step in education, that it's university, college education, because you need to be very clear in what type of things you can and cannot write on an essay, on your thesis, on the papers that you're going to deliver, and even in your speeches. Last week we talked about the purpose of a speech, and we're going to go in depth now into the formal and informal language to have a more clear vision of things that we should do and shouldn't do, okay? So hope you're enjoying this class as much as I do enjoy doing it. So like I was commenting, we're going to talk about formal and informal type of writing. We kind of saw this in the previous term, but we're going to go deeper into this subject because after this we're going to talk about thesis and essay types, and you need to be very clear in which type of writing you're going to use in each one of those things, okay? So we're going to talk about formal and informal writing. Let's start by establishing that a key part of clear communication is considering your audience. How well you know them, how casual it is, how will everybody be affected by a specific type of salutation, or how do you sign off after your speech or even your writing. So deciding what type of writing you need, it's like choosing an outfit. You need to know whether you're ahead to a backyard barbecue or to a red carpet gala. A poor choice will make you stick out and not in the most pleasant way, okay? So let's begin with the definitions, the structure, and the correct use of each of these type of writings. So informal, it's the way you communicate on your daily basis with people that you really know and then you relax around. It resembles to our daily conversations, and you can have a lot of constructions and slang, abbreviations, and expressions with emotions, emoticons, all that type of things. An example is that you might use this type of language or writing to invite your friends to a party. Here's the example. Hey fam, we're hosting a brunch thing at our place this Sunday morning, say 10:30ish. Hope you can make it. So when you write, you can be informal by maybe doing a quick quote or referring to specific features of a person, object, or place. It's okay to use the informal expressions, but it's extremely important that you understand when you should or shouldn't use them. Believe it or not, some words are more formal than others. So I here present you with a very simple infographic with a couple of examples of those words. Inquired against ask, request against ask for. You know, like there are simple ways that you can structure a sentence that can listen more or less formal. That being said, let's talk about the formal writing. When we talk about formal, the first image that we get, it's a suit, a couple of high heels, and yes, this type of writing, it's a lot more serious and it's more construction, okay? Longer words, no slang. This is the type of writing that a professional use, okay? You use it in a cover letter, in an email to your teacher, when you're requesting a job or your entry to university. That's the type of formal writing that we are talking about. We don't tend to use abbreviations only after we already specificate, well, what those letters stand for, okay? We first say United Nations, and after we use the letters, okay? The same goes for the second and for the second person, pronouns like I and you tend to change a little bit on the formal writing. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. In the informal, we say, I asked the major about earthquake preparedness, and he said, we haven't done enough to be ready. In the formal, when asked about earthquakes preparedness, Major Kim said the city has more work to do. As you see in the formal writing, I don't use the pronoun I. I use the question to start the sentence and avoid using that pronoun. Why? Because it's more formal. I don't know if I'm allowed to call him that way. I understand that the formal language might seem a little serious and strict for you, but it doesn't mean that you always have to be formal when speaking, okay? For example, I will give you a quote of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She belongs to the Supreme Court, and this is an opinion of her about a case. And as you can see, it's not super formal, but still comes from a person that has a very formal position. Here I will give you a little table of the do's and don'ts of the formal writing and letters, okay? For example, in informal letters, you say help, but in a formal letter, you say assistance. This is the type of things that we were talking earlier about words that sound more formal than others, okay? So you need to pay a lot of attention to the words that you're using because this change the tone of your letter, of your essay, of your writing, even if your speech, okay? You also need to keep in count the words you use to emphasize certain aspects of your writing. When you want to put attention into a certain word, you need to pay attention to those words too, because there are words that are more formal and less formal, okay? Here I give you another table with a couple of examples. For example, in informal, you say lots of or a lot of, but for formal, you use many and much, okay? You need to keep, like I said, you need to pay attention. You need to keep in mind these things because there are words that are more formal than others, okay? To decide when you need to use a formal or informal, it's pretty easy. I think that you need to check your context, make sure your audience, and, be aware of the tone of the environment that you are developing. For example, if you're going to text to your friend, you're going to do it in a very informal way. But if you're going to send a message to your teacher, you're going to be very formal and very polite of the things that you write, because you don't only want to be perfectly understand, but you also need to be respectful for the organization. I mean, this person is your teacher, okay? So you need to be respectful. Here are a couple of examples of when you use informal and when to use formal writing. When we're talking informal, like I said, when writing to a friend. If we're talking about a formal, it's when you're writing your CV or your job applications. Informal, sharing a story, writing creatively, maybe writing the draft or an outline for something. Formal, when you're writing to a professional, when you're reaching out to someone you don't know, when you're doing your academics papers like essays, theses, lab informs, those type of things. I will leave you the link of 2 interesting articles that I found on the web. The first one is 6 tips to help you edit your own writing. This is really good because it gives you very simple tips of how to pay attention to your writing and make sure that it goes either way, formal or informal, depending of which audience you are reaching. And the second one, it's an article from the University of the People, and it goes very in depth of more things to be aware, like the tone that you use on your essays, the voice that you use for your speeches, in order to make sure that people understand that you're being formal or informal, and it's more easy to reach people, okay? I would like to share something else with you. I got this really quick video where I show you more in depth where we were talking about knowing your audience and the place you're going in order to find out which type of language you're going to use. So let's pay attention.
As you sit down to write an article, you should always ask yourself, who's the target audience? What's the best way to communicate my message to them? And does my topic require a certain delivery style? Answering these questions will help you determine how to write your articles. More specifically, do you need to write more formal or informal? So how do you know which style to use? Well, in this video, we'll put the information in your hands so you can choose the correct writing style for your articles. So what's the difference between formal and informal writing styles? Well,
I tend to be complex and thorough. I'm simple and more conversational. I take on more serious topics in a very direct way. Will I use a larger range of emotions and show more personality?
wait, I can see how this is going to end. Let's explain this one at a time. Formal writing, you're first. Step up to the microphone.
Thank you. Like I said before, I'm complex and thorough. I use longer sentences, and each of my main points are introduced, elaborated on, and concluded.
This is something that we were talking earlier. In a formal speaking and writing, you have more complex and longer sentences with more formal words, okay? More complex words.
My articles use full words, not contractions or abbreviations. My writing is objective. I state the main points confidently and offer a full support of arguments.
The formal type of writing goes perfectly when you're writing an essay or presenting arguments because it's an objective point of view. It's not requesting your personal opinion, and it has no involvement of you in the writing.
I am not a personal writing style, so there are very few emotions included. Thank you for your time.
Okay, informal writing, you're up.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm informal writing, and I'm much more conversational than our former friend. Sometimes I use slang or even figures of speech. I like to include a more personal or emotional tone. I also speak directly to you, the audience, by using words like you or your.
This is also that we were discussing earlier about the pronouns in the formal type of writing or speaking. The pronouns are not used directly. Here you use you, I, me, us very easily. And a difference between the formal and the informal is that here you have your personal touch. You have emotions and you have your opinion included in this type of writing.
I'm pretty simple because I use short sentences or even incomplete sentences to make my point. Oh, lastly, I like to keep it short, so I use contractions and abbreviations. That pretty much wraps up my style of writing. Thanks.
Thank you, informal writing. As you can see, each style has their own merits, but their usage depends on the tone you're trying to set. Think about your audience and the topic of your article. Adopt a formal style when you're taking on a more serious, objective topic, and write informally when you're comfortable and familiar with your readers. In the end, you have to make the decision of which style of writing is best for your articles. It's in your hands now. So go write and submit a brand new set of quality, original, formal, or informal articles.
So as you can see here, there is like a more summarized version of the difference between a formal and an informal writing. The most important thing is to be very sure of what type of writing you're going to do. Like I said, if it's an academic writing, you know, strict, go to the formal. If it's more like a message or maybe just a consideration of your opinion, you can be more informal. Keep in count who you're writing for and for what you're writing. And that will give you those answers will give you all the things that you need to make sure if you need to be informal or formal. Okay? Well, see you later, guys. Hope you're fine. Bye.